Hey guys, Aaron Cybertron Zhang here, and today I'm back with another episode of Road to Rank, where I climb the online VGC 15 ladder and provide live commentary as I go. We featured a brand new team in yesterday's episode, the Trick Room team that I originally built with Shady Penguin, and was able to notch us a pretty good win in that first episode. So we're just going to jump back onto the ladder currently with a rating of 1720 as we try to push for the 1800s by the end of this week. As always, if you enjoy Road to Rank, please show your support by leaving a like on the video. I'd really appreciate it, as we're just going to find Win from Canada with a rating of 1633 immediately. As I mentioned, this week we will only have one game on Road to Rank because of the fact that I'm preparing for US Nationals, but hope you guys don't mind and I'll make it up to you once I'm back from Nationals. Win here has got a very similar team actually to the team we faced in yesterday's episode, rocking a team of Sylveon, Kangaskhan, Talonflame, Landorus, Heatran, and Amoonguss. So, pretty interesting team here. I think if I can set up Trick Room, that'd be great. Jellicent, I think, is key. Something like Scrafty Jellicent, though then that's actually very weak to Kangaskhan, Sylveon. That lead in general is kind of an issue. Actually, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lead with Jellicent and Amoonguss. I like that. With Heatran in the back. Heatran's still really good here, and I think Mega Gardevoir is still fantastic, especially against the Amoonguss. Yeah, and it can Hyper Voice things. So I'm going to lock in and we'll see how this goes. Not a huge fan of the matchup here, honestly, but it's not the worst either. Sylveon, Hyper Voice spam is always a bit annoying. And for me, playing with Mega Gardevoir with min speed is always a bit difficult because, a lot of the times you don't know how fast your opponent's Pokemon like Heatran are. And with Mega Gardevoir, which is base 100 speed, even when you're min speed, a lot of things still outspeed you in Trick Room, so it can be a bit tricky to play with, but it is a Mega Evolution that I really think has a lot of potential, and I've never really tried out the Trick Room variant other than when I built the team with Shady, so it's a lot to learn, and I'm gonna try to just take him away as much as I can. So I'm gonna lock in, and we're gonna see how this first game goes. Now, the nice thing is I do have safety goggles with the Heatran in the back, so if my opponent decides to bring the Amoonguss earlier on, I had the dual immunity with my own Amoonguss, and then I also have Heatran. And since I'm, 0 speed, min speed, ideally if I can just set up Trick Room and get an Earth Power off against his Heatran, that's my best way of knocking it out. Otherwise, I kind of have to rely on Jellicent, which isn't the worst case because Jellicent's still a pretty darn good Pokemon, especially against a Heatran, which relies on Heat Wave, Earth Power, and sometimes Flash Cannon, so it doesn't have a way to really hit me offensively. Counter really going down there. I think my opponent locked in just in time, but always a bit scary when you get down to 0 seconds. But we're going to get into it, and we'll see what she decides to lead with. So, I do like Jellicent and Amoonguss because of the ability of redirection. And, you can just try to set up Trick Room immediately. But maybe a Talonflame might come out here. Nope, it's going to be Sylveon Kangaskhan, which I thought might be the lead my opponent wanted to go for. So, I'm okay with seeing that. Now, two potential plays. You can either fake out in Scrappy form the Jellicent and Hyper Voice, or you could fake out Amoonguss and Hyper Voice. But this is a very good, time for me to get Trick Room up. And I think I'm just going to Spore the Sylveon, because I want to Will-O-Wisp the Kangaskhan the following turn if possible. If he chooses to fake out Amoonguss, obviously he's going to take Rocky Helmet damage, he's not going to be able to knock me out, and I get Trick Room up, so that's actually ideal. If Scrappy fakes out Jellicent, it gets a bit more interesting, but I'll be able to shut down the Sylveon, and then the following turn, just Rage Powder and Trick Room. So he's going to choose the Mega Evolve, indicating to me he's not using the fake out onto the Jellicent, which is good. We might also just see a double edge Hyper Voice here, trying to pick up the KO onto Amoonguss immediately, which would be a smart play. But he does go for the fake out, which I'm more than happy with because I do have the Rocky Helmet, so that actually helps me out more than it helps my opponent out. And I do think if you're ever a Kangaskhan in that position, you probably want to stay in normal form and just go for the fake out so you don't take double the amount of damage. Sylveon's going to launch a Hyper Voice here. That's going to do a good amount of damage, but given how bulky I am, both of my Pokemon taking it pretty well, and Jellicent successfully sets up Trick Room, which is fantastic. So, ideal turn 1 here for me. That's basically exactly what I was hoping for. So let's see. Now I'm going to go for the Will-O-Wisp, I think, onto Kangaskhan, and I'm just going to Spore the Sylveon. He might pull some switches, but that's okay with me. If he, switches into Amoonguss, I'd actually like that, so I can bring in my own Heatran. Now, the tricky thing about using this team is making sure you effectively use your Trick Room turns. A couple smart switches here could really screw me over, but he just decides to stay in with both, which is more than okay with me here. So I get to put the Sylveon to sleep. It's going to take 1 turn of sleep, but I'm more than okay with that. Will-O-Wisp fortunately also connects with Kangaskhan, which is fantastic here, so it is now burned for the remainder of the game, of course decreasing its attack. Sylveon's going to take a turn of sleep here, as Kangaskhan's probably going to double edge the Amoonguss slot. Yep. Should have knocked me out, and with the Rocky Helmet damage, the recoil, and the burn, he might actually knock himself out. Let's see. yeah, Mungus hangs on down to 32 HP, which is great. As Kangaskhan here takes all that recoil. I think he's going to have one more turn, but that's actually what I was hoping for, because now I can switch out Amoonguss, get that regenerator health. Yeah, I want to switch into Heatran here. And I'm going to go for the recover. Yeah. And hopefully Sylveon stays asleep. I mean, if it wakes up, it's not the worst case scenario. My opponent could also make a very good prediction here and like low kick Kangaskhan or power up punch it. Though power up punch wouldn't even do very much damage. Low kick wouldn't even knock me out. But if Sylveon stays asleep for another turn, then I can water spout Flash Cannon to knock it out. And I'm actually trying to bait in the Amoonguss to switch in here. If my opponent brought it, I don't even know if he has it. But if he does have Amoonguss, I can try to bait it in. And he's, he would think he's slower than me. He can spore the Heatran, but of course with safety goggles, 1, I can avoid his spores, and 2, I can avoid his rage powers as well. So this is a pretty clean turn for me here. I think Kangaskhan, I guess, could choose to. I mean, he can't really do anything. He could try to Sucker Punch, but obviously I didn't go for an attack. This is one of the cases where if I had Sludge Bomb Amoonguss, that'd be really nice, but I prefer Giga Drain just against those bulky water types. And Heatran here is going to be able to come in relatively free. Kangaskhan actually switches out, which is a good play on his end, but I'm okay with that. As Talonflame comes in, which is great for me to see here. Jellicent gets that free recovery up, which is fantastic. And we'll see if Sylveon wakes up here. If it doesn't, then I'm in a very, very good position. He stays asleep, so that's very good. Because now this following turn, I can just Water Spout Flash Cannon, and even if he Brave Birds me, that's perfectly fine because of the fact that Flash Cannon should do around 90% to Sylveon, so all I need is that little chip damage to really pick up the knockout here. And obviously Talonflame doesn't fare too well against the Jellicent, especially when it has Recover and Cursed Body. It's one of the reasons why I really love Jellicent. It's so bulky and very few Pokemon can effectively knock it out. My opponent's going to decide to stay in with both of his Pokemon, which is, I'm more than okay with. So Brave Bird's going to come out, and that's not going to knock out Jellicent. Looks like it's going to be the Choice Band variant, but I do have the nice Citrus Berry here, which I like to use in combination with Water Spout. So Water Spout plus Flash Cannon here should be able to knock out the Sylveon, and that damage does confirm that Talonflame is Choice Banded. So, I do very minimal damage here to Sylveon, but hopefully the Flash Cannon here will be able to pick up the knockout. As it doesn't. It's a bit bulkier than I anticipated, but I get pretty fortunate because he takes yet another turn of sleep here. So that works out very nicely in my favor. We're probably going to see another Brave Bird come out from Talonflame. Let's see. I just want to make sure who my opponent has in the back, because I need to make sure I have this end game planned out well. It might actually be worth giving up Gardevoir here. Because, so this turn I'm going to be able to pick up a double knockout. Now his Kangaskhan's, just a double protect away from fainting. And then his last 3 Pokemon are Landorus, which can't knock out Amoonguss with an Earthquake. Amoonguss, which I have Heatran for. And, let's see, we've seen Kangaskhan, Sylveon, Talonflame. Or his Heatran. Yeah, so I'm actually going to sacrifice Gardevoir here, just because I think Jellicent's a bit more important, and I'm going to Heat Wave. Hopefully picking up a knockout on both Pokemon. So yeah, Water Spell on this Jellicent really doesn't do much damage, but I really just like the spread damage. That's, for me, the most important thing. Tracing here, the Gale Wings, that's not really going to help me out. Yep, Talonflame's going to launch a Brave Bird. That's probably going to knock out Gardevoir. Unfortunately, poor Gardevoir cannot take Choice Band Brave Birds very well. Not many Pokemon in this team really can. So he's going to knock me out there. But I'm more than okay with more than okay with that, just because Heat Wave, fortunately connecting with both Pokemon. So Talonflame's going to go down, and Sylveon falls as well. So I get a bit lucky there with Sylveon not taking full turn of sleep, though actually, in retrospect, now that I think about it, it would have been a bit better if Sylveon woke up, because he would have been able to knock me out, and I would have gotten a free switch into whatever I wanted. So Trick Room does expire here. We're going to see what his last Pokemon is. And I'm going to bring in the... Let's see. I'm going to bring in Amoonguss just because I know that Kangaskhan is 1 burn turn away from fainting. His last one is Landorus. Okay. Yeah, so what I do here is I double protect, and then Landorus is going to definitely Earthquake, I think. Or he might actually choose a Rock Slide at this point, but if he Rock Slides, then I definitely win the game. So as long as he's not Choice Banded or doesn't get an incredibly high damage roll / critical hit, I think I'll be fine here. Yeah, I'm just gonna double protect here. And what I'm gonna be able to do the following turn is Spore Lander, switch Heatran out into Jellicent, and then I win the game by setting up Trick Room and healing back up. So we should be able to win here, but we'll see. It really didn't come down to how much I think Earthquake does. I don't know what kind of Landers my opponent's running either. Presumably Earthquake. Or not, or presumably Earthquake. Most Landers just carry Earthquake unless they're like special Landers T with Hidden Power Ice, which you might see a couple of at US Nationals. I wouldn't be entirely surprised. Just because, you know, it was used in Japan at their national championships, and a lot of American players are, you know, looking at that. But pretty tricky position for my opponent, but, you know, Landers is the one Pokemon I think my opponent needed to have in the back to win. If it were Amoonguss, obviously there was no way my opponent was winning this one. And if it was Heatran, he could have Earth Power me, but then I could have just Spored him. But I'm just going to play it as safe as possible this turn because there's no reason not to. You know, avoid the Fake Out. He's probably going to Fake Out the Amoonguss and Earthquake. That's at least the play I'd go for. So let's see. Fake Out coming out. Yep, onto Amoonguss, and Landorus chooses to Earthquake. So he knows that Kangaskhan's going down anyway, so he doesn't mind knocking himself out, which is a more than smart move. So I'm going to feint there. And it's going to be a 3-on-1, but, you know, Landorus might actually be able to bring this game back, which is slightly scary. So yeah, I'm going to Spore here, and I'm actually going to sack the Heatran because I think Jellicent's a bit better to close out this game with the ability to Trick Room and Recover and Will-O-Wisp. So as long as he doesn't get a crit here, I mean, he could be Choice Banded Landers too, which would be very scary. If he were Choice Banded, I would lose this game. So it's going to come down to how much he does to Amoonguss here. How much does he do? Does he knock me out? No, Amoonguss hangs on with 30 HP. Very, very clutch. So I assume he's Choice Scarf. Nothing crazy like Safety Goggles or whatever. So I get the Spore off here. And it's still definitely not over. If he wakes up immediately, this game could still go in his, I mean, he could still win. Hopefully not, but we'll see. The nice thing here is I'm guaranteed a free turn, and that's one of the nice things of having a slower Spore user. You know, a lot of the times you look at Breloom and you look at Amoonguss when you consider a Spore user, though I normally use Amoonguss mainly for Rage Powder. Spores, also obviously a very good move, but Breloom, you know, also a very good Spore user, but a lot faster in the format. And so when you're a faster Spore user like Breloom and you Spore Pokemon that are slower than you, they get a guaranteed turn of sleep immediately, and they have a chance of waking up the following turn. However, because Amoonguss is so bulky and it's so slow, a lot of the times it's going to be the last Pokemon attacking, so it ensures that the Pokemon that you're using Spore against won't wake up, and you get a free guaranteed turn of sleep there, which is really, really important, I think. So I'm just going to Giga Drain here. I mean, obviously at this point I just need to get damage off, and I'm going to go for the Trick Room with Jellicent. I believe I clicked Trick Room, hopefully. And then once Trick Room goes up, I can just start recovering, and actually Recover Stall might be able to just win me the game because I have access to Cursed Body, so eventually he's just going to, you know, activate it, as it looks like I get a crit there with Giga Drain. Wow, not even. I guess he's just a pretty frail Landorus. So Jellicent gets that Trick Room up, and should be game at this point, but, you know, just got to play it safe. If it's a 2-turn sleep here, he definitely loses. But I'm still going to play it safe by Giga Draining, and, or maybe I should Protect here. Yeah, I'm going to play it a bit safer, Protect and Recover. Yeah. Because I know that Earthquake won't knock out Jellicent after the Recover, so if he wakes up, then the following turn I can just put him right back to sleep and then Water Spout twice to win the game. And if he doesn't wake up, then, you know, I just get free recovery with Jellicent, as, yeah, that's at 194 HP now. And Lander stays asleep, so, you know, just playing it as safe as possible. Let's say he woke up there. I mean, the main thing is I just want the Earthquake to be spread damage, so now I'm just going to Giga Drain and Water Spout, because single target is a bit scary. But this Landorus doesn't look like it's very defensive at all. My Amoonguss isn't offensively built, so I'm kind of surprised at how much Giga Drain's doing here. But combination of Giga Drain and Water Spout should be enough to pick up the knockout, as it is. So, going to be able to pick up yet another win with this team in a very intense game. You know, whenever you set up Trick Room twice in a game, that's pretty long. But great game to my opponent there. I think just from the start I was able to get a huge advantage off by getting the Trick Room. And I was expecting Kangaskhan Sylveon, and that's why with this team, you really need to anticipate the correct leads, because if you do, and you manage to, you know, figure out the combination of what you want to lead with, because typically it's like Scrafty Jellicent, Scrafty Gardevoir, Scrafty Amoonguss. Normally you want to have one of your Trick Room users, but then the question is, who do you pair it up with? Do you pair it up with Scrafty, Amoonguss, maybe even an offensive attacker like Heatran or Rotom, stuff like that. But, you know, fortunately I managed to predict the right leads, and you see how it paid off. So really great game to my opponent, as we're going to be 2-0 with this team as we go into the next episodes in the rest of the week. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this one. Leave a like always if you did, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Alright, peace.